USA. It's Titletown, it's Green Bay. Back to town, matter hey. Sacrifice the price we pay. Never back down, ain't no way. Champions in every way. Leaders aren't born, they are made. Fight for greatness every day. It's Titletown, USA. Go Pack, go! 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 Go Pack, go!
What is up, Packer Nation? Long time no see. It's Ryan with the Packers Hub. I finally decided to get off my ass, and I'm going to start getting back into the swing of things, man. I want to make the Packers Hub a premium spot for Packers fans to check out Packers news, not get the same boring old articles. I mean, like, you could obviously go to Cheesehead TV or PackersNews.com or, any of those sites and get bland, vanilla, run-of-the-mill Packers news. Like, you can get the Packers news, but I want it to be entertaining. I want you guys to maybe, have a laugh or two. Because, most of these guys, like Rob Demovsky or Jason Wilde or, guys like that, they're giving you good stories, they're giving you the facts, but they're not really putting a nice, twist or spin or making it funny or entertaining. They're just giving you the facts. And I want to give you guys, good. I want to give you guys the facts, but I also want to put a funny spin on it, or give you a real hot take, or they're not really going to give you hot takes. They're, like I said, they're just going to give you the facts. I'm going to give you hot takes, and I'm going to make you laugh, hopefully. But, yeah. So, I'm ready to start getting back into the swing of things. I told myself I'm going to sit down. I'm going to record a podcast. I'm going to make some YouTube videos. I'm going to do some articles. We're going to get this shit back on the road. So, starting out, a lot of exciting slash... what's the word I'm looking for here? A lot of exciting changes, but a lot of head scratchers too. So let's get into the best one. Dom Capers is gone. Thank fucking God. Dom Capers, long overdue. This guy hasn't had a top 10 defense since we won the Super Bowl. I mean, it's been bottom of the barrel every single year. This guy needed to go, especially if you look at his stats from third down. We were basically 32nd in almost every category looking at third down statistics. So when we needed, I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that either. You would watch the Packers games. It's like, oh, it's third and long. Here comes a first down by the opposing team. I mean, it was like clockwork. Me and my buddy would just sit here. We would crush Busch Classics and would be like, drink every time the opposing team gets a first down on a 3rd and 5 or longer. Oh my God, we'd be hammered by the end of the game because we called it the Dom Capers special. They always converted 3rd and longs. When they didn't convert a 3rd and long, it was a rarity. You're just like, holy shit, what's going on? So Dom Capers is gone and Mike Pettin is in. I love the hire. I wanted Fangio. I'll be honest, I wanted Fangio. But after we got Pettin, digging into his record, I mean, this guy, you talk about Dom Capers not having a top 10 defense for the past 6, 7, 8 years. Mike Pettin has only had top 10 defenses. And the only time he didn't have a top 10 defense was with the Browns. One year he had a top 10 defense with the Browns. But then the other year, I think he was in the 20s or something. But it's the goddamn Browns. And ever since he left the Browns, he had what? 7 or 8 wins combined in his 2 years in Cleveland. Well, since then, they have won. They're 1-31 since he's left. So it's like, look at what he did with one of the shittiest rosters in the game, and he still made them have a top 10 defense one of the years. Mike Pettin has only had top 10 defenses. He was the outside linebackers coach in Baltimore, and then he obviously went to the Jets, had amazing defenses. I think they ranged from 1, 3, and 5 the 3 years that he was there, and then he was at Buffalo, and they set the franchise record for most sacks in a year while he was their defensive coordinator. Long story short, I'm very excited about Mike Pettin. I think Mike Pettin's going to be a revelation for our defense. But I have my concerns, and not about Mike Pettin, but about the tools that we're giving him so far on defense. I mean, we're into free agency right now, and we've signed one corner, and that's Tramon Williams. And I love the Tramon Williams signing. That was very smart. It's better than the Devon House signing last year, because Devon House, we basically brought him in just because he knows the system. Well, now we're bringing in Tramon, who was the 5th highest rated cornerback in football last year. He had an 87.8 ranking according to PFF. Complete stud last year. He still got a lot left in the tank. I thought that was a very smart veteran signing. Bring him back home. Bring him where he needs to be. I love that. But you look at everything else. Who else? I mean, Kevin King had a lot of people think that he had a great year. And to listeners of the Packers Hub, have been listening to me for, since I started last year. They know I don't like Kevin King, and I didn't like the selection of Kevin King. And I'm going to give you the facts about Kevin King. He was awful last year. According to Pro Football Focus, he ranked below the 50 mark, which is like if you're under a grade of 50, you suck ass. His grade was 41. He had like a 41.0 ranking, and Josh Jones was 44. So looking at our secondary, we didn't re-sign Morgan Burnett. Bad move, I think. Oh, there's so much to go over. Like, I just want to start going off about Jordy because I just listened to Wildy and Tausch, and Jordy was on. I'll talk about that in a moment. But for right now, looking at the secondary, we almost have to draft. We can't go best player available. We have to address need in first round now because we didn't sign a top cornerback. And we let Morgan Burnett walk in free agency everybody's talking about Morgan Burnett's going to make $10 million a year. Holy shit. Okay, if he made $10 million a year, all right, he's gone. We can't do $10 million a year with a 29-year-old safety. He's about to be 30 years old. He'll be on the wrong side of 30. I mean, giving him, $10 million a year for 3 or more years, unfeasible. This guy got 3 years, $14 million. Are you shitting me? We couldn't take care of that for one of the most consistent. You know what you're getting with Morgan. Morgan is going to be a consistently ranked top 12 safety in the league. He's the definition of consistency. Some years he's going to be ranked really high up there, top 3 safety in the league. According to Pro Football Focus, a couple years ago, he was ranked that high. And then you also want to look at, even in years where he's, not a top 3 ranked safety, he's still upper tier. He ranked 77 this year, which is pretty good. That's solid. That's a solid player. So, now we have a need at safety, and everyone's saying that Josh Jones is going to come in. He's going to be our starting strong safety, and it's just like, okay, that's fine. But if you go and watch my breakdown of Josh Jones on YouTube, there's a lot he needs to learn. His instincts are questionable. He doesn't always flow to the ball like the way that you would like. A specific example that I can remember is quarterback was rolling out to the left when I was breaking down. This is in my YouTube video. Quarterback was rolling out to the left, and he's looking for his receiver in the end zone, and Josh Jones isn't shrinking the window like you would think anybody else would be. And sometimes, this guy is always going for the knockout hit. One time, again, in the breakdown that I did, he straight up lays out his own guy. He's going for the knockout hit, and he just knocks out his own guy. And the other guy gets away, and the running back gets away for a touchdown. So Josh Jones, he has a lot of work to do. Does he have a lot of upsides? Hell yeah. The game against the Bengals, he was a man possessed. I almost thought that I was completely wrong in my breakdown, but then you watch the other games and Josh Jones, the poor instincts and some of the other things, they start rearing their ugly head. So Josh Jones is a very boomer bust kind of guy, and is that really? You go from a guy that's so consistent at Morgan Burnett, and now you're going to you don't know what you're getting week to week. So we'll see how he makes strides. I have no doubt that Pettin and Joe Witt and everybody, they can work with him. They can, get the best out of him. That's one thing Pettin's always been, highly regarded for, is that he can get the best out of players. He can put them in the best situations. So hopefully he can do that with Josh. But like I said, I almost feel like you have to take a top flight corner or safety in the draft, which, that might also be the best player available at the time, but now it's almost like we have to take those positions. Let's say Derwin James and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minka's almost assuredly not going to be there. Derwin James is probably not going to be there. Denzel Ward is probably not going to be there. So now, if those guys aren't there, you basically still have to. What are you going to do? You're really going to take what? If Connor Williams is there, if that's your highest rated guy, you're going to take Connor Williams. We have Brian Bulaga, we have David Bakhtiari, we have Jason Spriggs, and we have Kyle Murphy. You can make all the debates you want about Jason Spriggs and Kyle Murphy. If we were to take, let's say Connor Williams was our top guy on the board at that time. If we were to take Connor Williams and then we have 5 tackles. We have 5 tackles that can all somewhat play. Kyle Murphy was playing for a while. Jason Spriggs started looking better at the end of last season, and we have 2 starting tackles. So we're really going to go best player available and get a 5th tackle instead of addressing the defense? No, we have to address corner and we have to address safety. And now we've painted ourselves into a corner that we have to take one of those 2 positions at 14 regardless of who is on the board. Now, do we have other needs? Yes. If by some miracle Quentin Nelson fell, I think if Quentin Nelson fell to 14, you have to take him. I think he's the best player in the draft. And we also have a need at guard, so that's another thing. Like I said, we have other needs. But if we were to take another D lineman, I love Mo Hurst, and Vita Vea, he's got a lot of upside, but if we were to take one of those guys at 14, be like, what the fuck? We have Kenny Clark, Mike Daniels, and now we just signed Muhammad Wilkerson. We're going to take another D lineman? Or it's even if we go at, pick Roquan Smith or Tremaine Edmonds, either of which I would love. But then it's also all right, well, we already have Blake Martinez, who had a great year. And then we also have Jake Ryan, who, towards the end of last season, he was another one that was just holy shit, Jake. He was playing like an animal. I love the way that he was playing last year. So then it's just all right, that's more of I don't really even know. It's not a depth pick because, Tremaine Edmonds or Roquan would obviously start. But, we already have, 2 starting caliber linebackers. And that's a debate. I get that. That's a debate to be had. You can debate whether Jake Ryan and Blake Martinez. But we have so many. It is a pressing need at corner. Tremont, he's 35. Let's be honest. Like I said, he played great, but he's 35. And, the year before that at Cleveland, it wasn't so good for him. We have a pressing need. Kevin King didn't play well, and behind Tremont, it's Kevin King, it's Josh Hawkins, it's Lindsey Pipkins, it's Donatello Brown. And we got Quentin Rollins, who had one good year, his rookie year, and then ever since, it's been injuries and it's been horrible play. Sometimes it doesn't look like he's quick enough or fast enough. Honestly, because, he just keeps getting toasted. That's besides the point. Cornerback depth is disgusting. I thought we needed to go into free agency and we needed to sign at least 2 guys. We signed one. We got Tremont. Good signing. I thought we needed another one. Like an EJ Gaines or something like that. And EJ just signed elsewhere. I forget where he signed, but he just signed a couple days ago. So now we're looking at, the Packers now have a meeting set up with Delvin Breaux, which, I mean, yeah, why not? Bring him in. Because like I said, we need at least, I thought we needed to bring at least 2 guys in for free agency. So go out. Maybe we sign Delvin Breaux. He's had some good years in New Orleans. He's had some injuries, but I mean, depending on the contract, it's probably worth the gamble to just bring him in, sign him. So I thought we needed to bring 2 guys in free agency, and I thought we needed to take at least one really high, first or second round, and maybe another later in the draft. We need depth at Donatello Brown, Lindsey Pipkins, and Josh Hawkins. They've showed promise. Lindsey and Donatello, being undrafted rookies, they look good. There's promise there. Let's not forget Sam Shields, Tramon Williams, both undrafted guys, made the team, ended up being dogs. Maybe they could, make a similar story, make a similar name for themselves, but that remains to be seen. And I think right now you just have to attack this roster. You have to attack the defensive backfield. You really have to make every position super competitive, but especially at corner, because right now it's undrafted rookies. It's Kevin Kane, who played horrible. Did he have some good moments? I'm not going to take it away. Yeah, he laid the thunder on Zeke. That was sick. He actually did a pretty damn good job on Julio, not going to lie. But when at the end of the day, he graded out like shit for Pro Football Focus. Did he have a bum shoulder? Yeah, he did. At the end of the day, he graded out like shit. Him being a number 2 corner, which he's slotted to be right now, remains to be seen. We need more depth. I'm not opposed to a competition. We sign these guys. We sign, one more corner, and we draft one. And if Kevin Kane outplays them both, and he's a number 1 or a number 2 or whatever he is, great. But let's have the competition. I want the competition. And if we sign those guys, we sign one more corner and draft one in the draft, and Kevin Kane doesn't beat them out, well then thank fuck we signed them. Because now we actually have a position group that's not weighed down by, false hopes and a guy we thought could be a number 1 or a number 2, and it didn't work out. So I'd rather have a safety net than no safety net and just be fucked. And Kevin Kane just doesn't live out to be the guy that I don't think he can be. I mean, I hope that he can be the guy that everyone thought he could be. Long, fast, quick, can jump out of the gym, has all the athletic traits, and everybody was so excited when we picked him, but I kept saying that there was reason for caution. You go watch my Kevin Kane breakdown on YouTube. You'll get a lot more in-depth analysis there. But I'd rather have the safety net than just have Kevin Kane. Like I said, I'd rather have the competition. So that's one thing. Moving on to another coaching thing. What is it? We got rid of Mike Trogvac or Trovac. I don't know how you say his name. He was our D-line coach for a while. Our D-line's great. Why did we get rid of the D-line coach? That makes no sense to me. Kenny Clark's played like an animal last season. Mike Daniels made the Pro Bowl. Our D-line looks great. Dean Lowry is taking steps. Montravius Adams, we'll see what happens this year, but our D-line played great. I don't know why we got rid of him. That made no sense to me. Scott McCurley, our inside linebackers coach, why we get rid of him? Blake Martinez Jake Ryan has shown each and every year that he's taken a step. Every year he takes a step, and he's developing into a solid middle linebacker. Blake Martinez took a huge step from his rookie year to this past year. And we got rid of Scott McCurley. Why? Another thing that doesn't make sense to me. It's just like, all right, so what? Blake Martinez and Jake Ryan, they're not top 10 linebackers in the league. We also drafted them in the 4th and 5th round. So it's like, we're not giving Scott McCurley a Roquan Smith, or a Reuben Foster or, one of those guys. We're giving them Jake Ryan from Michigan in the 4th round and Blake Martinez from Stanford in the 5th round. Could they both end up being great middle linebackers? Sure. Is Scott McCurley holding them back? I guess we'll see. But I don't think that's the case. I mean, these are guys that they obviously had questions coming out of school. That's why they weren't 1st or 2nd round picks. There were questions coming out about their athletic ability, about this, that, the other thing. I mean, there were questions. That's why they were picked so late not so late in the draft, but later in the draft. So, looking at it, Scott McCurley did the best with what he had. And Mike Trovac did the same. He made Mike Daniels a 5th, I think he was either a 4th or a 5th round pick, turned him to a Pro Bowler. Kenny Clark, obviously a 1st round pick, a lot of expectations. He's met him. Has he not? He's been an animal. I think Mike Trovac did everything that he needed to do with the D-line. D-line looks great. I don't know why we got rid of him. Stupid firing, in my opinion. Alex Van Pelt also left. Aaron Rodgers' close friend, apparently. And I had kind of a hot take on that situation because, all right, Brett Huntley played like shit. And that was Alex Van Pelt's, that was one of his guys that he had to coach up and develop. And Mike McCarthy obviously felt like that didn't fucking happen. And most Packers fans obviously felt like that didn't fucking happen. So Alex Van Pelt basically failed at his job. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is great. No matter who you put at quarterback coach, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a dog. But you look at Brett Huntley. Brett Huntley played like shit. He wasn't ready. He's had 3 years to learn under Alex Van Pelt. Is Alex Van Pelt the only guy that's in his ear talking to him, coaching him up? No, but that's his position group. And Brett Huntley failed miserably. 0 touchdown passes at Lambeau Field. Unacceptable. And then Aaron Rodgers comes out, and, he's, in so many words, like motherfucking the move. It's just like, Aaron, dude, I love you. But it's not your position to be... What was the exact quote? What was the exact quote he was saying about Alex Van Pelt? I'm trying to remember now. But it was just something like, that was Mike McCarthy's decision, Aaron. Like, regardless of how close you were with him or what kind of relationship you had with him, it was a move that made sense. And it's not like Mike McCarthy fired him. His contract was up. Alex Van Pelt said he wanted to leave. And Aaron Rodgers is over here, I just don't understand the move. Well, I do, and most other people do. When you look at Brett Huntley, who played like shit, did he have a game or two where he looked decent? Yeah. But for the majority of the time, it was him throwing passes that left you scratching your head saying, what the fuck are you doing? So, I understand not bringing Alex Van Pelt back. And then in his place, we bring in Frank Cignetti, which is Mike McCarthy buddy from 20 years ago. They've known each other forever. He is what he is. I really don't know too much about the guy. I think it was with the New York Giants. And, like I said, Aaron's going to play great with whoever's at the QB coach. But the important thing is now we got DeShone Kizer and we still got Brett Huntley. Frank Cignetti is going to play a big role in now developing DeShone Kizer. I think the ship has probably sailed on Brett Huntley. I mean, like, the writing's on the wall for you, dude. I'm sorry, but you played like shit and you had 3 years to not play like shit. So, Frank Cignetti is going to play a big role in developing DeShone Kizer, which, to comment on the DeShone Kizer move, I like bringing in DeShone Kizer. I don't like getting rid of Demarius Randall. And Demarius Randall's made some remarks, over the past week saying he's like, yeah, I'm athletic enough to play corner, but my real position is safety. And I felt the same goddamn way when we drafted him. Was he playing great at corner at times? Yeah, but he also played like shit at corner at times. I think his best position was safety. And an idea I floated out there last year was, all right, maybe we move on from Morgan Burnett and we put Ha at strong safety and we put Demarius at free, which is his natural position. Well, I guess the Browns had that idea too. So now they take care of one of their needs. They get Demarius Randall. They ship off DeShone Kizer because obviously he played like shit for them. They want to restart at that position. They're going to take one high in the draft. They get rid of a guy they didn't even want, and they bring in a need, and they put him at safety. I think it's a great move for the Browns. Head scratcher for the Packers. Obviously, we loved DeShone Kizer coming into the draft. And then you have all these people that's like, well, half of Green Bay's front office is now in Cleveland. How much do they really love DeShone Kizer? It's like, oh, yeah, well, we still have most of our front office. It's like, did we lose a couple guys? Yeah, we lost a couple guys. But we still have most of our front office at 1265 Lambeau Avenue. Or Lombardi Avenue. So maybe Brian Gutekunst was the guy that loved DeShone Kizer. Maybe it was some of his underlings that loved DeShone Kizer. We still have plenty of guys that were there last year that are there now that could have loved DeShone Kizer. We lost 2 guys. Maybe they didn't love DeShone Kizer. Okay, that makes sense. But obviously a talented quarterback prospect was being touted as a potential number 1 pick at one point. All right, you can make that argument with Brett Hundley too, but there's a lot of talent that DeShone Kizer has, and under the right study, that he could really learn a lot. So we'll see what happens with that. I still can't believe we got rid of our number 1 corner. But there were reports, to be fair, that he was more of like a cancer, you could say, in the locker room, and some guys thought he should have been cut after the game where he was sent to the locker room by Mike McCarthy, which after that, he had 3 straight weeks of interceptions. So, I don't know. I guess people in the locker room, players in the locker room, they weren't digging Demarius Randall. He was kind of like outspoken, or, he was, from what I can gather, he was rough to rein in. Some players didn't like him. Coaches had their difficulties, and at the Mike McCarthy in the season-ending press conference was just like, yo, Demarius needs to clean his own house, because Demarius, he thought that Dom Capers should go and shit like that, and Mike McCarthy was very vocal. He's like, Demarius needs to clean his own house. So I guess the writing was on the wall for Demarius, but it's just like, Jesus Christ, we have such a void at corner and safety now. We have 2 unknowns. We have 2 unknowns that are going to play big roles, Kevin King and Josh Jones. They both played at a subpar level last year, and regardless of why that was, injuries, Dom Capers, but regardless of what that was, they played poorly, and now they're going to be playing significant roles. So, whatever. Edgar Bennett's also gone. Yeah, I mean, that's... I really don't have too much commentary on that. That's like a whatever move. But I mean, we've been making great wide receivers for a while, the entire time that Edgar Bennett's been here. Jordy, Randall, Devontae, all developed into big-time wide receivers. Game-changing wide receivers under Edgar Bennett. So, I don't know. Probably not a good move, but what are you going to do? Ted Thompson, also gone. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I was excited. I was excited to hear that. We need to make this roster more competitive. And, Brian Gutekunst, I was excited when he was hired. He comes right out and he says, we're going to be more aggressive. We're going to take a harder look at free agency. We want to be in every conversation. Just came out yesterday that the Packers were in a bidding war, basically, with Chicago for Allen Robinson. And he, I guess, decided to go to Chicago, which I could have gone my whole life without knowing that information, because I live near Chicago, and now all my friends would be like, oh, he went to Chicago instead of the Packers, Mitch Trubisky, and they're going to be blowing sunshine up Trubisky's ass until, the season starts. He starts throwing interceptions like he was last year. But, A-Rob decides to go to Chicago over Green Bay. Why? I have no fucking idea. He was obviously going to be, a number 2. Devontae's our number 1. He's going to be a premier wide receiver playing with Aaron Rodgers. And I guess we were in a bidding war with Chicago, so he's going to be getting around the same contract. Ends up deciding to go to Chicago. I have no idea what the fuck that's about. You have a chance to win now with a great quarterback that's going to make you look good, and you're going to be a premier wide receiver for the same money that you're going to be getting in Chicago. That makes no fucking sense. But anyway, it just shows that Gutekunst, he's going to be making it looks like he's trying to make the most competitive roster he can. So it's just like, all right, dude, you're willing to sign A-Rob, and we signed Jimmy Graham, which I don't know. It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up whether that's going to work or not, because there have been some signs of digression. He's been digressing. He's on the wrong side of 30. But I feel like we basically brought him in to be a red zone guy like Jordy was. And you know what? People are bashing like, oh, well, you're only in the red zone like 5 times a game. It's like, yeah, well, if you score 4 out of 5 touchdowns while you're in the red zone because of the red zone threat, then that makes up for everything. It's like, fuck you. It doesn't matter if you're only available 4 or 5 times a game. If you're scoring touchdowns on a couple of those drives, then you're absolutely worth what we're paying Jimmy Graham. So, like I'm saying, it could be a boom or bust. He's shown signs of digression. Probably gave him a little too much money, but it's basically a 2-year deal. If it doesn't work out, it is what it is. You cut him, don't have too much dead cap going into the 3rd year. So, but I mean, honestly, I was excited but after sitting down and thinking about it, it's like you realize how much of a boom or bust kind of thing that it is. But initially, I was excited. Holy shit, we have a top flight tight end. We never have a top flight tight end. We haven't had a great tight end since Jermichael Finley. That's what everybody says. So now we got Jimmy Graham. We got one of the game's best tight ends, and we have him in Green Bay. But going back to my point, Gutekunst is showing that he's exploring every avenue of trying to make this team better. He tried giving an offer sheet to Chicago for Kyle Fuller, which they promptly signed. And a lot of people are dogging the Packers like, oh, we made it too easy. Well, his I forget how it's broken down, but Justice Mosqueda, who I love, breaks everything down with such like an incredible focus. He broke it down like everybody thought like, oh, like the guaranteed money and this and that. It's like, oh, they can just get out of the deal super easy. It's like, no, they can't. It's basically a 3-year, $42 million deal, which if they try to cut him before that, I know the deal is like 4 years, $50 million or, whatever the fuck. But it's Justice Mosqueda broke it down. It's basically a 3-year, $42 million deal, where if they try to get out before that, they'll have a shit ton of dead cap. And they'll have a heavy weight against their cap. So the Packers actually made it a decently hard offer to take, and it's obviously more than they wanted to pay him. They gave him a transition tag. They weren't comfortable giving him the franchise. They didn't want to pay him the extra couple million for the franchise tag. They didn't want to obviously sign him long term because there's questions. He's been up and down. So the Packers basically said, "Fuck you. Either we're taking him or you're paying him." I thought that was a brass ball move by Gutekunst. I thought that was sick. It's like I said, either we're taking him or you're paying him, and they decided to pay him. So now they at least got to give him or have him for 3 years. And he played goddamn good last year. I will say that, which is I was kind of hoping that we would get him because, like I said, I thought we needed 1 or 2 corners in free agency. But so that happens. And it just shows that Gutekunst is going through every option to try and make this a better roster, while also fucking over an NFC North division rival. So I really like that move. He's been in conversations with a lot of free agents. Sammy Watkins, A-Rob, Jimmy Graham were the top 3 on the first day that everybody was hearing about. Almost got A-Rob, got Jimmy Graham, Sammy Watkins. That really never materialized. But yeah, we were talking to Rashawn Melvin. We signed Tremont Williams. We were trying to sign Bashad Breeland, but he ended up going to Carolina. Failed the physical, so we could still sign him in a couple months when he's healthy and could pass a physical. So we've been trying, but obviously it hasn't been good enough. Dude, we need at least one more corner. We need to do something. People are clamoring for Eric Reed, and it's like, I could give a shit about the anthem protests. I really could. I don't give a fuck. He wants to protest the anthem. That's his First Amendment right. But I don't think he's really that good of a safety. According to Pro Football Focus, he had an 81 grade, which was honestly higher than I thought. It was 4 points higher than Morgan Burnett. But, I mean, I'd rather draft Derwin James. I'd rather go into the draft and try and do everything that we can to get Derwin. Derwin's going to be a dog. Derwin's like a Cam Chancellor type. I think he could probably make more plays because he's faster. Has more instincts than Cam Chancellor. He's a Cam Chancellor type player. I think we should get him. Eric Reed's more of a stopgap. So it's just like, yeah, we want a mid-tier kind of guy to come in and give us exactly that, or we could go get Derwin. That's what I think we should do. But I'll get into that a little later. So another thing that we did, Joe Philbin, he's back. And to me, it's just like, okay. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. It's just like, all right. So we brought Joe Philbin back. And, people were dogging it. But, I mean, the last time Aaron Rodgers was it 2014? Did we still have Joe Philbin in 2014? I don't know. We just kicked ass when Joe Philbin was our offensive coordinator. Offense was lights out. So it's basically Mike McCarthy trying to get back to how it used to be. Because, sometimes our offense can be inconsistent. So we bring Joe Philbin back, and we're obviously trying to get back some of that 2011 magic. But oh my God, you look at the weapons that we had. Jordy, Donald, Greg, Randall, Jermichael. I mean, holy shit. You couldn't go wrong throwing to any of those guys. So, yeah, I mean, it's basically, getting the boys back together, trying to make magic happen. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the move. Bringing them back. Let's see what can happen. So we lost Elliott Wolf. That obviously sucks. And he's going to be a GM someday. So it's basically like, all right, well, we're either going to lose him now or we're going to lose him later. Would we have rather had him for this draft process and during free agency? Because he would have had Brian Gutekunst. I mean, they're supposedly really good buds. He would have had Brian Gutekunst's ear, and he, would have been a very important figure in free agency and the draft and all that stuff. So would we have rather had him for at least one more year or something before he goes and is a general manager? Yeah, we would have. But I mean, this was an eventuality that he was going to be moving on. He was going to be moving up, and we're just going to have to swallow this at some point. So I thought we should have brought in Scott McCloughan, but guess what? He went to the fucking Green Bay Browns, because that's basically what their front office is turning into. With John Schneider, or not John Schneider, God damn it, what's their GM? I don't know. Former Green Bay Packer front office guy. Was in Cincinnati, and now he's in Cleveland as the GM. John Dorsey. So they got John Dorsey. They have Elliott Wolf. Now they bring in Scott McCloughan, and they also have another one of our front office guys. God damn it, why can I not remember? But yeah, brought in another one of our front office guys. I can't remember his name. So their front office is basically Green Bay. It's the Green Bay Browns. So it's really interesting to see what they're doing over there. I mean, they're wheeling and dealing. They're making trades. I mean, I obviously think that they've made themselves a lot better. They got Jarvis Landry. They got Tyrod Taylor to, be a guy that is going to play this year while they develop their, first overall pick, whoever they take. Everyone's saying it's going to be Darnold. We'll see. But, I mean, they're making moves. It's really interesting to see what's going on over there. And, how aggressive how aggressive they are compared to, because everybody wants to talk about the Rob Wolf scouting tree to Ted Thompson and now Brian Gutekunst. It's really interesting to see how aggressive all those guys are that worked under Rob Wolf. And, they're making trades, they're signing people, they're cutting people, they're doing all these things. It's really interesting to see. So it's just like the Rob Wolf scouting tree isn't all Ted Thompson, or Ted Thompson-like GMs. There's some of them like to wheel and deal. They like to dabble in free agency and make trades and shit like that. So we'll see if Goody does any shit like that in the coming months or whatever. Well, I mean, we did. We traded for Deshaun Kaiser, so there you have it. So the big question is, what do we do at 14 in the draft? What are we doing with our first overall pick? So I have some things jotted down right here. Corner, outside linebacker, O-line, safety, backup QB. Well, I think we answered that, so we can cross that one off. I jotted this down like a month ago, but then I fucking lost motivation. But now I'm finally doing it. So scratch that off. So corner, outside linebacker, O-line, safety. I mean, we either need a starter or depth at all those positions. So at 14, let's look at at corner. Who can we get at corner at 14? Well, the guy who everybody wants, Denzel Ward, probably not going to be there. Everything that I see, who doesn't ever need a corner? Everybody always needs a corner. So you can never have enough guys to cover in the NFL. Denzel Ward's going to be a hot commodity. There's a couple teams that have the same needs as us. God damn it. I would love to have Denzel Ward on the team, but probably not going to happen. Josh Jackson, maybe. He's a baller. He's a playmaker. He's got good ball skills. And he's from Iowa. Let's face facts. There are trends where guys from schools just tend to pan out. Like last year, I said Desmond Kane is going to be an animal at corner. Go check my article of ranking the top cornerbacks in the draft class. He's coming out, and everybody says, "Oh, he's going to be a safety. He's not big enough. He's not fast enough." I'm just like, fuck that. He's going to be an animal at corner, and he's going to be one of the top corners. And I had him ranked at number 6, my number 6 corner in the draft. And what did he do? He was in the running for Rookie of the Year, according to Pro Football Focus. I think he ended up grading around like an 85 or an 86. He was fantastic for the Chargers. Go look at his highlights on YouTube. He was great. So Mike Daniels, also from Iowa. I mean, guys from Iowa just tend to work out. They just do. Or at least from the Iowa defense. So, picking Josh Jackson, I'd be in favor of it. I think he's a dog. But, those are probably the two guys right now. People are talking about Mike Hughes from UCF. I don't think he should go at 14. It's probably a little too high for him. But Denzel Ward or Josh Jackson, obviously either would be a great pick. And I'd be 100% down with either. Looking at outside linebacker, people are talking about Marcus Davenport. Now, I like him. I do. He's not a Kevin King for me, but there are Kevin King qualities where it's just like, all right, Marcus Davenport was being highly touted. Then the combine comes along, he runs the 4.5, and he shows out in all the athletic drills. Oh my God, he's so athletic, and people are pumping him up. And now people are talking about top 10 for Marcus Davenport, and it's just like, all right, hold on. This guy went to University of Texas, San Antonio, and guys from small schools come to the NFL and end up being dogs all the time. Look at Antonio Brown from Central Michigan, shit like that. It happens all the time. But hasn't faced the best competition. He did do well at the Senior Bowl, which, like I'm saying, I like him. I think he's a first rounder. But does he go at 14? Ooh, that's tough. I would, if this situation happened where we traded back and then we got Marcus Davenport, all right, that's cool. But to take him at 14, I just feel like there's better guys there. And obviously, Bradley Chubb's going to be gone. Let's not even talk about that. Harold Landry, I think, is a dog. I think he's the next Vic Beasley. He has that same kind of explosiveness that, oh my God, you want to talk about running the hoop drill? You want to talk about dipping and ripping, bending? He's got elite bend. And you're talking about edge rushers in the NFL, you got to have that. You got to have that Von Miller bend. He's got it. He's got that kind of bend. Had a down year last year, but was dealing with a lot of injuries, shit like that. He still played well. I think he's the number. Well, all right, him and Bradley Chubb. But I mean, I think he's up there with Bradley Chubb as one of the best edge rushers in the class. I mean, he's a dog. I have a hierarchy of who I want at 14, and right now, him and Derwin, they're pretty neck and neck. I also like Roquan and Tremaine Edmonds and shit like that. But Harold Landry, Denzel Ward, Derwin James, all probably like neck and neck for me right now. And then there's tiers, so then next would be Josh Jackson, Marcus Davenport, guys like that. So moving on to linebacker, middle linebacker, the two guys that we were just talking about. People are talking about Leighton Vander Esch too high. 14's too high. I don't see the situation happening because I hear the Steelers are in love with them and they're picking them if they can at the bottom of round one. But if the situation arose where we were to get, like a Derwin James round one or a Josh Jackson, Denzel Ward, if we got one of those guys round one, and then somehow Leighton Vander Esch fell to the second round, fuck yeah, make that pick all day. It's not even a decision. But, I'd rather have at 14 a Roquan Smith or a Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds is an athletic freak. He compares directly to Anthony Barr with all of his combine numbers. And most of you guys know, they've been listening to me for a while, not a combine guy. But, you can't help but notice similarities between players. He's almost identical to Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr, fuck you. I hate you for breaking Aaron Rodgers' collarbone. But, hey, he's a goddamn good player. And if we can get that Tremaine Edmonds, you watch his tape, holy shit. This guy can fly. Does he need to work on some things? Yeah, he does. But, him and Roquan, I mean, a lot of people like to talk about Roquan, but Tremaine Edmonds is a hell of a fucking athlete. He's a hell of a football player, too. Him, with the speed that he has and the athleticism that he has, and being such a mammoth motherfucker in the middle, oh my fucking God. This guy is 6'5", he can run like a cheetah. In the middle of the field, you're not throwing over him. You run a 10-yard in route, how are you getting it past Tremaine Edmonds, sitting in the middle? This guy could be an animal in coverage. He's an animal in the run game, too. But you look at Roquan Smith, and I think he's got better instincts than Tremaine Edmonds. So I think right out of the box, you're getting a stud. You're getting a stud with Roquan. So, I mean, you really can't go wrong between those two guys. But I do think it's a little high for Leighton to be at 14. I mean, Jesus Christ. Especially when we have such dire needs at unless you're getting a game changer like a Roquan or a Tremaine. To get Leighton when we have so many other needs is just fuck, man. I can't. I don't know if I could get behind that one. Looking at O-line, I mentioned two guys, Connor Williams, and you could make an argument. Bulaga is coming back off of season-ending injury. Who knows what he's going to be like? Jason Spriggs hasn't looked the part that we traded up. He hasn't looked like a guy that you trade up for in the second round. Kyle Murphy had a good game or two, but then he got his ass whooped in other games. D-back is D-back. I mean, he's an all-pro. I mean, he's set there. But you know what? You can make an argument that Connor Williams could potentially be a starting tackle if maybe Bulaga gets hurt again. Offensive line depth is critical, and we saw that last year. I mean, plugging in guys. I mean, Aaron can make it work with whoever the fuck he has in front of him. But it's a lot better. Look at our offensive line when we had a healthy Bulaga. We had D-back. We had Sitton. We had Lane and Lindsley. Holy shit. We had a top... We might have had the top O-line in the league. People say the Cowboys, fuck that. D-back is an all-pro. Brian Bulaga was Bleacher Report's number 1 ranked right tackle a couple years ago. Josh Sitton was obviously a perennial Pro Bowler. Same with TJ. And Corey Lindsley was a good young center. We had a damn good offensive line, which we've completely dismantled. And now we're slated to start Justin McCray, who played admirably, but he's not good. I mean, I think we can say that. Hats off to that guy. That guy came in, he did whatever the fuck he was asked to do, and he did it to the best of his ability. It's not a guy you want starting, though. And Jason Spriggs, obviously, we said, hasn't lived up to the hype. So bringing in Connor Williams gives you amazing depth. If Bulaga starts sucking or he gets hurt again, because, he's getting a little injury prone, maybe a lot'll. You bring in Connor Williams. This is a guy that, was at one point a top 5 lock. And now he's falling for, whatever. People have concerns. You take him at 14, though, he's a potential, Pro Bowl caliber tackle. But I don't think they should, obviously. I mean, there's questions for a reason. But one guy, one offensive lineman, that if he's there at 14, that they should absolutely take, and that's Quentin Nelson. He's not going to be there at 14. There's reports that multiple teams have him as the number 1 player in the draft, which I agree with. He's a complete savage. I mean, he is all-pro, perennial Pro Bowler, lock. I mean, this guy's like a 99 on Madden. I'll say that right now. This guy is a straight savage. I would love to have him in the Green Bay locker room. I really would. But, he's not going to fucking be there, so it's kind of worthless talking about it. Now we go to safety, and there's really one fucking safety that we should think about taking at 14, and that's Derwin goddamn James. He's an animal. Pro Football Focus's highest rated safety in college football. He was coming off an injury, and so he had a slow start to the beginning of the year, but he finished the year fucking dominant. I mean, this guy is, like I said, he's a Cam Chancellor type. He's one of those guys. He's going to lay the fucking lumber. He's going to make plays. Jesus Christ, the guy's 6'2", 215, and ran a 4.4 at the combine. Super athletic, has all the traits that you want. Packers are obviously, all about, they have thresholds for guys. And Derwin James fits all those thresholds. So, I think you bring him in at 14. So, I have 3 guys, and I alluded to this earlier. It's Derwin James, it's Denzel Ward, and it's Harold Landry. Any of those 3 guys at 14, you take them and you don't look back. I think Harold Landry is a game changer. He's a Vic Beasley. We need that. Clay and Nick Perry are... they're essentially guaranteed to miss 6 games combined a year. Nick Perry can't stop breaking his hands. I mean, what is this guy's hands made of? The rest of him looks like a bowl, but his hands keep getting broken. It's like, Jesus Christ, what do his hands look like now? But, yeah, so Clay, also another guy with glass bones. So they're always guaranteed to miss, 5-6 games combined, if not more. So you need a guy, who's the next guy? Kyler Fackrell. We need more depth at outside linebacker, and Harold Landry could be a difference maker. And then, Clay, we bring him in, and Clay can do stuff that, he can start moving around more. And that's honestly when he's at his best now. He's at his best when he's moving around, he's blitzing from different spots, he's doing stunts and shit like that. That's where he's at his best now, at this point of his career. He's not, getting 3 sacks a game or, any of that shit from the outside linebacker spot. So you bring in Harold Landry, who could be a difference maker, and Clay can move around, and hopefully Nick has a rebound year because we gave him a shitload of money. And I love Nick Perry, president of the Nick Perry fan club. I wanted to take him that year in, what was it, 2012? He was my guy. He was my number one guy. I loved him. I loved everything about him. And I was way more crazy about the Combine then, and Nick Perry absolutely blew up the Combine. But that would be pretty sick. Clay, Nick, Harold Landry, that would be dope. And then we have Vince Beagle, who was it? Who's our outside linebackers coach? Is it Winston Moss? I think Winston Moss said that, he's going to be, he can usually tell, who's going to be a player and who isn't going to be a player. He's like, Vince Beagle's going to be a player. He's going to be a dog. So I'm excited about Vince. But you know what? It's an unknown, and I don't like unknowns. Let's bring in Harold Landry and see, what our outside linebacker position looks like then. And if Vince plays like a dog, he plays like a dog, and that's great. But then also, like I said, Josh Jones, moving on to safety. Josh Jones, very inconsistent. You bring in Derwin James, who is, by all intents and purposes, a blue chip safety. This guy's going to be good. I mean, come on. He's basically the same guy as Jalen Ramsey. And it's like, I want Jalen Ramsey, so I want Derwin James. That's where my logic is right now. But Denzel Ward, I mean, this guy runs 4.3. We need guys that can run at corner. I mean, we really do. We have Kevin Kane who can run, but, I mean, we need guys who can run and are good. So, Denzel Ward, Josh Jackson, either of those guys, obviously the preference is Denzel, but it's going to be, I don't think he'll be there at 14. And then Josh Jackson, he'll probably be there at 14. So, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, man, I think that's about it. I think that's all I got for now. I'm glad this is almost an hour. I just really want to come in here and just shoot the shit. I just want to talk some Packers football, man. I love talking about the Packers. That's why I want to start getting back into the swing of things. I want to start cranking out podcasts, videos, articles. I just want, I love talking about the Packers, and I want to share. I like conversating about the Packers. I don't just want to sit here and talk to myself about the Packers. I want to talk to other people. I want to talk to you guys. So, yeah, man, I think that's all I got for now. So, yeah, be on the lookout for more Packers Hub stuff coming out. I'm going to try and start cranking out some more stuff, and I'm glad I finally got off my ass and started doing this. So, I'll talk to you guys next episode. See ya.